Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of Usage on Hack the Box. It's a recently retired free Linux box. We can see that we have an IP of 10.10.11.18. I will go ahead and start going through some of our initial enumeration that I got done before the video started, just to save us some time. We can see in our Nmap scan, all we have is port 22 and port 80 open. Unlikely we're going to get anywhere with port 22, so we can begin by checking out our web server on port 80. I went ahead and added usage.htb to our Etsy host, and while I was checking out the web app initially, I noticed that admin.usage.htb was also going to be something that we needed. We have a pretty basic web app. It looks like initially we can log in, we can register an account, and then we see that admin panel I had talked about just a moment ago in the video. We also can see that we're running Laravel, which may be interesting later on, Nginx 1.18, and PHP. Our FFUF scan for subdirectories didn't really turn up anything interesting outside of what we had already found. And the same with our scan for any vhosts or subdomains. We have nothing but that admin panel that we had already discovered. I went ahead and registered an account. Nothing really interesting there. The only thing we discovered is that with a short password, we get a message that there is a minimum character length for passwords of 6 digits. Now, I spent some time looking through this app. Nothing really interesting. Nothing stood out. It's basically just some blog posts about penetration testing. So after some exploration, switching gears a little bit, checking out different things on the app, we can go to the password reset. With some different payloads here, we actually discover that just a single quote throws a 500 server error. So maybe we have something here. So I actually also switched from Zap to Burp mid-video because Zap was not behaving with this app. But what I did is I sent a password request, a password reset request with that account that I had created. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this request here from Burp, paste it into a text file, and see if I can get SQL Map to do our dirty work for us. So I took that request, pasted it into a text file with Vim. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I will set up our SQL Map command. Okay, we can see our SQL Map command that started to get me some traction here. And some of the initial scanning, I was at least getting back that database was MySQL, and things were taking forever. So I went ahead and narrowed it down to just look for MySQL. And you can see that we have some available databases. Usage.blog or usage_blog looks like it's going to be what we want to use. So in our next SQL Map command, we're going to specify just that database and probably try to save ourselves a little bit of time rather than just dumping the whole database, and just grab the tables at first and see if we can narrow it down even further into something that may be most interesting for us. And it looks like in this case, it's probably going to be users, or I should say admin users. All right, so with dumping just the information from our admin users table, we can see that we do in fact get an administrator user a bcrypt hash. So I went ahead and pasted that hash into a text file. And you can see with John, since I already cracked it once when I originally did the box, we can just do John hash.text -show instead of our word list. And we see we have a password of whatever one. Back over to our administrator login, we can use the username of admin and the password that we discovered of whatever one. We have access to the admin dashboard. Now, while searching through the admin dashboard, we discover that if we go to users and then we see our admin user here, we can go ahead and edit. And we have what is possibly interesting as a file upload to change the administrator user's profile picture. And since we already know from our earlier Wappleizer results that we are using Laravel on this web app, with just a little bit of research, we can discover that affected versions of this package are vulnerable to arbitrary code execution due to unrestricted file upload via the user settings interface. Users can upload and execute PHP scripts on the affected server. So after playing around with the file upload a little bit, I found that it was pretty easy to get past any kind of restrictions by just adding JP to the end of our PHP file. We make sure our intercept is on in burp before we go ahead and submit. And then in here, we can go ahead and just add PHP back to our file extension. And you can see that this is just a basic PHP reverse shell. I think in this case, I just used the Pentest Monkey one. And I realized after I had sent the payload that I forgot to change the IP of my shell from when I originally did the box. So after updating that and resending our request, we have a shell back on our Netcat listener, which I also didn't mention that. Make sure you have your listener running because this one executes immediately as soon as you upload it. And we can see that we are user dash. And when we cd to dash's home directory, we have our user.txt for our user flag right here. Now I used Python to stabilize our shell. You can see I missed my end single quote originally, but I managed to pull through. Just looking through dash's home directory, nothing interesting at first, but then when we lsla, we can see this monitor RC or monet RC, which we will go ahead and open up. And when we cat out monet RC, we can see that this script actually contains an admin password. And before we go trying this password anywhere, we can also just check out any other users on the box. We see that we are Dash, but we also have Xander. So unfortunately, our password that we found didn't get us root, but it does work for Xander. So we're going to go ahead and SSH in as Xander and get out of that web shell. And some of our initial enumeration with Xander, when we run sudo -l, you can see that user Xander may run the following commands on usage. User bin usage _management. So we will go ahead and check that out. So if we run option 1 on that script, we can see that it is creating a project backup file in var backups project.zip. So we're going to go ahead and download that and check it out and see if there's anything interesting that we can find. All right, so I went ahead and downloaded over SSH with SCP the zip that was created by the script, and I went ahead and unzipped that to a project directory that I created. We can see in the project directory we have project admin and usage blog. And since it's been a while since I did this box, I realized that I just wasted a bunch of time because I did explore those backup files when I had originally did the box and found nothing useful. What is useful is when we cat out our script, we can not make out a ton of it because it is an ELF file, but from the little bit that we can read of the script, we can see that we actually do end up having some useful information here. So we can find something interesting on Hacktricks. If 7-zip, even using -- before a wildcard, the following input cannot be treated as parameters, so just file paths in this case, can cause an arbitrary error to read a file. So if a command like the following one is being executed by root, which we have exactly this going on in our script, you can create files in that folder where this is being executed. You can create the file root.txt and the file root.txt being a symlink to the file you want to read. So we will basically use this to, I'm sure there's probably better things that we could use it for, but just to finish the box out, we can actually use this exploit to read the root user's text file for the flag. So if we make our way over to var www HTML, we create a file root.txt, make a symbolic link from the root.txt file that we want to read from the root users directory so that we can finish this machine. And then we go ahead and run that script again with the project backup. You can actually see our root flag is output right here. So, of course you could use this to read more important files than a flag for a CTF, but in our case, this does the trick. And, we can see where we needed to make our symbolic link from where Hacktricks told us to run it in the directory that the script is actually running in. And that would be the end of our box. Hope that was helpful.